What's up? This is Patrick of Radicards.com, and in this video, I'll be talking about my experience at the March 9 through 12, 2023 Dallas Card Show. Now, I understand I'm coming at you really late in the game. Here we are in April, but I had a really stressful month trying to fix two bugs that I found on my website, and I fixed it last weekend. So, finally getting to this review. Super fun show, as always. The big show in Allen. Kyle and his team do such an awesome job. And, I've been to so many of them, and I've met so many amazing people at these shows, but I always find different things every time. The first thing I'll be talking about here is a Keith Van Horn 1997-98 Finest Embossed Refractor. Now, in 97, Topps brought this same set to us in baseball as well. But in the baseball line, they're not serial numbered, but in basketball, they are. So the silvers have a print run of 263. Now, because they have a print run in basketball, one could make the assumption the print run is similar in baseball, but there's no way to prove that or back it up with any degree of certainty. So, fortunately, I wouldn't be able to say that there's a print run that's known for baseball. But in basketball, 263, and it's printed on the back. The gold refractors have a significantly shorter print run than 263 because obviously they're gold, they're harder to get, whatever. But really happy to get this Keith Van Horn. Now, a little bit of backstory on this particular card. In the summer of 2012, after I came back from the National, I went, it was like a week later, or like a couple weeks later, I visited my mom. I was living in LA at the time. And I flew back to Albuquerque to visit my mom. And my buddy Dan and I, we went to the shop. And the guy behind the counter had this box of cards that I guess had already sold. There was like an Ichiro Retrofractor rookie, and there was the Keith Van Horn version of this that's the gold version. And I asked him, I was like, what do you want for the Keith Van Horn? The guy's like, it's already sold. And I was, man, I really would have liked to have gotten that card. Now, I don't chase Keith Van Horn stuff, but I remember him being a really hot prospect in 97. And when I saw this at the show, it was from one gentleman who I've bought from many, many times in the past. Now I've gotten to know him, really good dude. And I was really floored by the price and ended up walking away with this one. So I was really happy to get this. This is the silver subset card. Still a great card. Still an awesome card. So I don't care that it's graded. It's graded is fine. Whatever, it'll stay in the graded case. It looks cool. That box matrix stuff that Topps started doing in 94. Really glad to get the Keith Van Horn. I don't have a PC section for Keith Van Horn. I don't think I ever will have a section for him. Who knows? I mean, I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but at this time, I don't have a section for him. I have a few cards of his, not many. But I was like, he and Christian Leitner, guys like that, they just had a different kind of like footprint in basketball. I was really glad to get this. This kind of started off my show. I found this on Thursday. I think this was my first purchase on Thursday. So this is the Keith Van Horn 1997-98 Finest Embossed Refractor, the silver subset card, serial number 263. All right, moving on. This is the Shaquille O'Neal 1996 Donruss Kazam promo. Now, these are not rare. These are quite available. I remember watching this movie back in 96 and identifying with the character, the young kid in the movie, because he was kind of angsty, sort of angry because his parents split up. And I felt like, dude, like that was me, at his age. And I remember having a similar demeanor back then. So I remember liking the movie. Some might think it's kind of cheesy, but I thought it was cool. Like, I like Shaq. I've always liked Shaq. So this really fit with me. Now, this particular card I found in a 25-cent bin, and I saw the word prototype at the top, and I was like, okay, it's Shaq, it's Donruss. These are not rare things to find. It's promoting a movie, so it's going to be printed in volume, but I didn't know because it's like, well, 25 cents, you can't go wrong with that. It's Shaq. I have a Shaq section in my basketball box, so I'll grab that. After doing some research, I realized that it's really available. There are many of them on eBay. So this, to me, is the front of the card, but the way it's promoted is this is the back of the card, and the front is like a black and white, and it shows a picture of the kid looking up at Shaq as Kazam. But this side of the card with the yellow on it and the promotional language for the movie and the trading card set, which is actually quite rare. 1996, Donruss produced a trading card set around this movie. And it's actually surprisingly hard stuff to get, and it's expensive. Probably a limited print run. I would imagine that the print run was significantly smaller than your standard flagship stuff that Donruss produces or has produced in the 90s around this time. Pretty cool, but I like this side of the card better just because it pops. The yellow it's just a better looking side of the card. It's got a great image of Shaq in the outfit for the movie. So there you have it. This is the 1996 Donruss Kazam promo featuring Shaquille O'Neal. All right, moving on. We have let's get to this one here. This is 2021 Topps Archives Fan Favorites Autographs, Tim Salmon. Okay, so this one was in it was like a bargain bin, and the cards were anywhere from like $1 to $5, and I don't remember which section this was in. I think this was in a $2 section. I think may have been the one, but I think it was the two. The gentleman who sold this to me is a super nice guy. I met him at the show this time. Hadn't seen him before, but I kept going back to his booth and buying more from him throughout the show. I had a smaller budget at the show, but I was able to sell some product and cards and whatever at the show, so I was able to get some allowance to buy some additional things throughout the weekend. So this was in one of the stacks. This wouldn't be a card I'd normally look for or buy online because it's just really modern whatever. There's just so much of it. This is like every week, every day I look at the market, there's a new set coming out with a whole stretch of different autographs and parallels and whatever. It's hard to keep up with this stuff, but I mean, if I find it in the dollar bin, I might grab it, throw it down, because I've always liked Tim Salmon. I'm an Angels fan. Lived like up the road from Anaheim Stadium, not too far when I lived in Fullerton, and I really like their stadium. I have good memories watching games with friends and stuff. It's just kind of a I have a kind of an attachment in that way to the Angels. I wouldn't say they're my favorite team. I don't really favorite teams or anything, but I have an affinity toward them due to my time living in Fullerton. So, and I've always had a Tim Salmon PC, a little side thing in my player box. So this worked for me. I was really happy to get this. So this is the Tim Salmon 2021 Topps Archives Fan Favorites Autographs. All right, moving on. We have a Garrett Anderson 2004 Donruss Stat Line Season to 116. So this was I think this was in the quarter box, I think, or a dollar box. It was cheap. I mean, I bring up cards like a brick, and then let's say it's 10 cards for $1, and I'll like offer 8 and they'll be accepted. So I'm paying less than the per unit advertised price point for these cards. So if I say this is $1, I get it for like 75 cents or whatever, 80 cents or 60 cents. Usually it's like I calculate it kind of ballpark based on the stack that I give them. And I'm usually bringing up hefty stacks that are 20, 30 cards at a time. So obviously if this was in a dollar bin, I maybe have paid 50 cents for it. But again, Angels card fan. I've always liked Garrett Anderson. I remember when he was coming up back in the early 90s, and he was like one of the guys to follow and to kind of just keep an eye on. And so I was really glad to find this. I mean, obviously I don't chase Garrett Anderson stuff. I don't go out and online and look for his stuff really ever. I think I've done it like once or twice, but when I find it in bargain bins, depending on the card, it can work in my collection. So this is one that does. I don't have a PC for him. I did when I was young. I had a Garrett Anderson section in my A binder, but I have not since. Like, gosh, when did I retire the binder thing? I was in business school. I moved everybody out of binders and put them in boxes. Maybe 07. And I remember putting player sections in, and Garrett Anderson didn't get the cut to have a player section. He was like, well, he's going to go in the Angels. And so I've talked about Garrett Anderson before, and he's just like a player I like, but I don't collect him enough to have a section for him. But I have some really cool Garrett Anderson stuff. So there's that piece of it. Really glad to get this. I've always liked these. They got the hollow foil finish on them, the season stat lines. The stat lines in general are kind of around that era. A lot of them had the hollow foil finish. Not all of them, but a lot of them did. So I was glad to find this in the bargain bin. So this is the Garrett Anderson 2004 Donruss stat line season to 116. All right, moving on. This is great. I love this. Cal Ripken Jr., 1998 Ultra Diamond Producers. So 1998 was the year that I exited the hobby kind of toward the end of summer, I remember. So it was just like the result of starting to skateboard and like finding myself kind of in the mix in the sense of like self-identification of like what I think is cool and what I think isn't cool. How people perceive me, and trying to like mold that into a way that fits kind of suits me. I think we all go through that to some degree. Things just aren't cool with girls, so you try to like dodge them in your personality a little bit. And then as you get older, you realize you love that part of yourself and you accept it. And if the girl doesn't like it, then that's her problem. And so with me, I just embrace what I like now. I don't have anything to hide. I'm content with who I am today, but I'm also quite a bit older than, when I was a little adolescent kid. But in 1998, Ultra, I bought a few packs of Ultra 98. Didn't pull anything like this. This would have been a huge pull back then. Really love these cards. They're a little bit thicker, like 75 point, like around there. And so they're kind of a little bit blockier in that way. They're condition sensitive. As you can see here, the top edge is a little bit chipping. It's very normal for this set, the chipping thing. Don't be too discouraged if you see it in your collection. It's a very normal, common occurrence with this set. The hollow foil finish with the etching together, I think, was done quite well because it kind of produces a diamond appearance to it. I always like that about these cards. And the wood in the background. I mean, it's a great set. Still relatively affordable. I think, comparably to some of the other sets in 98, this set is still available and affordable. And so that's kind of a benefit. The roster is your classic late 90s guys. And so I'm always so stoked on stuff from 98 and 99. I mean, there's so many great years in the 90s for cards. I just love that era. I don't know. I just think the 90s stuff is just so cool. But this is one that I saw. And this was actually, I think, in the dollar bin. I was like, Ripken in the dollar bin for Diamond Producers. Of course, I'll grab that. It's funny. The bin that had this card, I'd gone through it, I don't know, several times throughout the weekend because I bumped into this guy sitting in the corner at the side room, and I went through his stuff once on, I think, Friday, and I went back a couple more times. I went back again on Friday, I went back on Saturday, I went back again on Sunday, and I kept giving this guy money. I think I spent the most with this guy, and it wasn't that much money, but the most with this guy across the board and everywhere else I bought. Even the Van Horn card was a small purchase in comparison to what I spent with this guy. I just kept coming out with great stuff, and I was like, well, what can I write about? I remember when I was like going through all the stuff I got at the show, and I was picking out stuff that I thought might make good for good content for this video. And this card, I'm like, man, I'm glad I went through that bin, 3 or 4 more times, because I found this on like the 4th time. And I missed it all those other times. How could I have missed it? I think it's the way I go through big bins is I'll like pick up a stack and let them fall from one hand to the other. And because I can recognize things that I collect quickly. If I don't see anything that I recognize, it just goes right back in. And I can go through, a whole table with a shelving unit in under a half hour, just plowing through it like that. And I'm able to pick out stacks of stuff. Got some Tiffany's, some Topps Tiffany's in there. The guy was selling all manner of bunch of those from like 87, some 88s. And I bought a bunch of them. Some 91s, which actually the 91 Tiffany's are the shortest print run of the Tiffany's of the 8 years that Tiffany's were made from 84 to 91. Tiffany's were released again in 2001 under the limited edition parallel block. So those were essentially the new Tiffany's, just branded differently. I prefer the 84 to 91 runs because kind of mysterious, cool white backs on something that would normally be gray back. Granted, in 91 and 1990, actually, 1990, 91, the Topps traded were offered packed out in gray back and in set form in white back. So you have to know that the Tiffany, obviously whiteback, has the gloss. The gloss on the Tiffany's are the defining factor of Tiffany's. If you don't have a gloss, it does not matter what it is. It's not a Tiffany. I had to like explain this to somebody at like one of the first Dallas card shows, and he got mad at me. He was like yelling at me. This kid, he was probably, I don't know, 10 years my junior, maybe less or more even. I was like, what does this kid know what he's talking about? Like, it doesn't, what the heck, dude? So he pulls up this article. I'm like, okay, whatever. The article's written by somebody, and that somebody, just like anything else, makes mistakes. This is a mistake. That article is a mistake. It's not sharing the right information. You just have to be smart enough to question the credibility of the writer or the content, whatever. But I'd explain to him like the defining factor, aside from what that article says, the defining factor of the Tiffany is the glossy finish. And he wasn't having it. His dad was there, and his dad was like, dude, I'm sorry. We're just hungry. We've been here all day. I'm like, yeah, that's fine. I'm like, I'm not going to fight back with this kid, but that's like, agree to disagree. Like, no hard feelings. I'm not here to pick fights. I'm just letting you know that this is this. 2 + 2 = 4. It doesn't equal 3. Sorry. And so that was that. I saw him at a few other shows. No hard feelings. Like, we didn't banter again after that day. I'm glad, because I don't like to make enemies. I like to make friends. But I can't help how other people respond. It's out of the scope of my control, nor would I want to control that. I have my own stuff to control, but I can just remember, I remember vividly. Actually, I talked about that in one of my first reviews, the Dallas Card Show reviews. So going back to my reviews on the blog side, the way I'm doing it now to save time is it's like video, picture of the spread of cards. I got one picture and then a list of the cards, and that's it. So it's like super simple. I used to go through and spend hours, like days on these reviews, and they're fun and everything, but I feel like it's better use of my time to be like straight and to the point. You probably, I don't know how many of you guys are reading some of these things. I hope some, I mean, I see the analytics. I know how much traffic I'm getting, but the amount of time I spend writing up the articles for the Dallas Card Show I used to spend many hours. And as I've gotten like older, I'm having to truncate some of that and abridge some of the work so that I can still produce good quality content for you without losing days of my life. So, I mean, I'm such a fan of the hobby. I could talk about this stuff, forever. I have other things to do, obviously. I mean, this is important to me, but other things are also important to me. Man, long-winded stories, right? So going back to this awesome Cal Ripken card from 1998, Ultra Diamond Producers. I saw this in the dollar bin, and I was like, I had gone through this block of cards, already so many times, and I'm still finding stuff. I told the guy, I was like, how are you going to come back? He's like, yeah. I was like, okay, well, you kind of have a feel for what I collect because I've seen you so many times this show. You're like the dealer I've seen the most. And there are a couple dealers who are my favorite guys at these shows. I always see them. I'm always excited to see them every show, always. And this guy's added into that mix. Like, I'm super stoked to see him the next time I see him at the show. So, but anyway, I saw this and I was like, well, what else did I miss? Are there other things? And I think I carved out enough stuff in those boxes. I set some stuff aside that like didn't really fit in my collection, but it could have fit. But I decided just to hold off, and if he has them next show, I might grab them. But no big deal if they're not available. It doesn't matter. What I got, I was super happy to get. It's funny, like I came back for stuff that I saw the first pass on the second pass, and I came back on the third pass to get stuff I left from the second pass, and on the fourth pass for the third pass. And I would pick up additional things every single time in addition to that stuff. I remember being out to dinner with my friends on Saturday night and being like, hey, should I go back and get that 87 Topps Tiffany Eric Davis? He was like, yeah, you should get the 85 Topps. I was like, well, the 85 is not Topps, is not on the table. It's the 87 Topps. He's like, yeah. So I went back and got that. And that was one of the like first cards that I owned, the base, the non-Tiffany of it. Just that picture of Eric Davis standing and holding the ball. The 87 Topps Wade Boggs is another one. 87 Topps Ozzie Smith, another one. And those were all Tiffany's I grabbed at the show, which was really happy to get those. Just got a bunch of them. So it's glad to get that. I got the 91 Topps Tiffany Bo Jackson. I got an 88 Topps Tiffany Nolan Ryan. And just other guys like that in those eras. I was glad to get those. Those are cool. This is the Cal Ripken Jr. 1998 Ultra Diamond Producers. All right, moving on here. Last card in the list. This is the Vladimir Guerrero 1999 Upper Deck Forte Triple to 100. These cards are so cool. I love the die cuts on these. These are awesome. Gentleman I know from Albuquerque, he sets up at these shows. I've mentioned him before. Super nice guy. I like talking to him. He's got a lot of stuff that I would love to have that I don't know that he has, but he knows he has. Thing is, I bought from him so many times, I know like the kind of the composition of what I haven't seen that he has. So I'm sure every time he brings stuff out, I'll buy from him, because I think I don't know if there's a single time I've seen him and I didn't buy something from him. I think every time I've seen this guy, I've purchased something. I've seen him at a lot of shows now. I've known the guy for a bunch of years now. Super good dude, super fun to talk to. He has all these like stories and charisma. He's a cool guy to talk to. But this was acquired for $6. I offered $6. He wanted $12, and it took. It was like, hey, would you take $6? He's like, sure. So I'm a Vlad fan. Vlad Sr. This is the guy I collect. I don't have anything Vlad Jr., I don't think, yet. I might get some in the future, but presently I have a Vlad Sr. section only in my player box. So when I saw this, I was like, Forte Triple, grab that. Love these. These are awesome. If you don't know the set, the base set is like a blue non-die cut. And there's like a green to 2,000, a double. The triple's to 100. And there's a quadruple to 10 that's purple. So it's kind of a really colorful set. I've written about this set. If you search Radicards, you'll find the article if you want to read about it. And I have a showcase of the Frank Thomas run. You can see it there. Really great looking cards. Some of my favorite from this year of 99. Upper Deck did such awesome work with their products back in this era. They created so many interesting and elusive parallels and inserts and things. And so I was really glad to get this in the bargain bin for $6. Now, I think that's a bargain bin. I can remember in 94 being in Virginia and going to a card shop with my cousin, and he bought a 1993 Leaf King Griffey Jr. for $3. And I was like, man, you paid $3 for a baseball card. That's a lot. So I was making $2 in allowance back then. So spending one whole dollar or half of my allowance on a card would have been, it's a lot. It's fit to half my income. So he spent $3 on a card, and I was really floored by that. I mean, that was a long time ago now. It's 29 years ago. And so when I think about card collecting now, my perception of spending is much different than it was back, when I was a little kid. But I remember that card, that 93 Leaf Griffey, always reminds me of that. Going to that shop back in Virginia. I see that card now in cheap bins, but it always reminds me of that. There's certain cards that just remind me about things. Like this card, this Vlad, reminds me of like late June, early July of 2011 when the quadruple of Thomas surfaced. And I had just gotten paid from my first paycheck when I was working at UCLA. And I bought that card. I won that card. And it arrived. It was like a BGS 8, I think, and it arrived in this really scuffed up BGS case. I didn't even care. I was like, man, I got the quadruple. I actually had that case placed, so it's a clean, fresh case. So it looks really good. And I just because when I was going to Frank's back at that time, there was a BGS dealer, and I took him a few things to grade. There was like the Josh Donaldson Superfractor, and some, I don't remember what else, but I had him re-slab that card. And I remember really being floored by the presentation value of it when it was re-slabbed, because the scuffing, it seemed like that card had been in a box, just tossed around every which way for a number of years. And that was the quadruple of this triple Vlad. And even the triples are great looking. There's one dealer had a few of these at a show. I think it was this or the Ultimate Collection to 100s that have a similar presentation, all red on it. Really cool. And they were overpriced. I remember them being pretty overpriced. This was a few Dallas card shows ago, probably last year, this time last year, I would say. I have to dig a lot. It's something like, it's worth mentioning that, I do these videos and I talk about the stuff I find, and what you're seeing is the result of many hours of digging around, like a lot. I might go through, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 hours sitting at a booth to find one card to feature here. Granted, I'm picking out other stuff in my collection, but it's not talking point worthy. And so what you're seeing is the result of many hours of digging, and it's the best stuff that I've found at that show. And so it's not easy. Like, if you're willing to put in the time and effort to find this stuff can be found, but you have to do work. It doesn't just come out of the gate like, oh my gosh, you went to the Dallas Card, you found this. I'm like, yeah, but I had to dig around for several days. And I had to, maybe I had to haggle for the thing to get the card or whatever. I'm okay with haggling. Like, I'm really good at it. I picked up an 85 Topps McGuire for 80 cents at this show. That's like a record purchase for me for that card. I picked up various other things for really good prices that were they're like, we've talked about them before. I didn't feel like I needed to talk about them again. Certain cards I can talk about them forever, but if I've talked about them already a bunch of times, then I normally wouldn't feel inclined to bring them up again. Like, okay, we've seen the 87 Donruss McGuire a lot in our lives. Everybody has. Everybody knows what that card looks like. They know the talking point that is it or is it not a rookie card. It's a rookie year card. It is in fact a rookie card, but it's defined differently than the 85 Topps rookie card. Those are both rookie cards, but for different reasons. So the 85 and the 87 McGuire cards are both rookie cards, but for different reasons. The 85, it's the first time McGuire shows up on licensed cardboard, i.e. it's a rookie card. 87, it's when he logged enough at-bats to be qualified for rookie status, which makes those rookie cards, but for different reasons. Now, the purist in me will say the 85 Topps is the only rookie card. Sure, fine. The 87 stuff can also be considered rookie cards because of the qualification minimums. I've gotten lean on that over the last couple of years, that I'm accepting of the fact they're both rookie cards, and I'll make a big deal about it, and I don't fight anybody on it. I used to be really passionate, like, no, it's the 85 Topps but I'm like, yeah, but he hasn't even posted any games in the majors yet. He hasn't even been qualified as a rookie yet. And so there's that reason. It's like, it's cool. I like the 85 Topps card. It's a favorite of mine, but the 87 Donruss is also a great card. 87 Topps. I like McGuire stuff anyway. I'm a McGuire fan. No McGuire is discussed in this review. That are cards to showcase. Nothing featured. I didn't walk away with any big McGuire pieces. Didn't get any big Thomas cards at this show. The stuff I get for Thomas now at shows, it's just like post-career last year or two commons. I don't feel the need to showcase those. Good stuff. I don't even buy all that stuff though, because then I have to scan it in, and I'm like, well, I'd rather put the money and the time towards something more significant. I mean, heck, nothing that we're talking about is going to be scanned, except the Keith Van Horn will go in the basketball gallery, which is pretty minimal. That gallery is probably going to remain pretty small over time. I don't predict I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, but as it stands right now, it's a pretty small gallery. So that's my experience at the March 9 through 12, 2023 Dallas Card Show. Thank you for tuning in. I'm your host, Patrick Reno, and until next time, enjoy collecting. If you like this content, please subscribe. Thanks. Enjoy collecting. We're going to open a box of, what is it?
0203 UD Glass.
Is that what this is?
Yeah, it's a 4x6 of Michael Jordan.
Really?
We just got it back right now from Beckett. The 9.5. It's a 10! Are you kidding me? It's a 10! Let's go! It came back a pristine 10. Yes. On the glass, baby. Wow. No way. Yeah, you got to be kidding me.
That is so huge.
Put that in the case. $20K.
How much did you get it for?
Free.
This was part of the deal.
That was a part of the... Oh my God.
Oh man.